Today, we're going to dive into the really dramatic story of Giuseppe Mazzini. We're looking at the one single event that got him kicked out of his own country and basically set him on a path that would change Italy forever. So let's start with a question that gets right to the heart of it all. I mean, just imagine this for a second. You're 24 years old, you're full of these incredible ideas for your country, and then you're thrown out, exiled, from the very place you were trying to fix. What on earth could lead to something that drastic? Well, the answer to that question, the person at the center of it all, is this man, Giuseppe Mazzini. His name would eventually become famous in the fight for a united Italy. But his story, well, it starts much, much earlier, with some pretty radical ideas and a revolution that didn't quite go to plan. Okay, so who was Giuseppe Mazzini, really? Let's take a closer look at the man and the world that created him. To get our bearings, let's just look at a quick timeline. Mazzini was born in Genoa back in 1807. Fast forward to 1831, just 24 years later, and he's already leading a revolt. That is an incredibly fast track from birth to full-blown revolutionary, which, tells you just how unbelievably driven this guy was. So how does a young man even become a revolutionary that quickly? Let's trace his journey, from just having an idea to actually doing something about it. To really get Mazzini, you have to understand what the word revolutionary meant back then. This wasn't just about being unhappy with the government. For him, the goal was crystal clear. The entire system of monarchy had to go, period. This was a direct shot at the whole power structure of 19th century Europe. And this wasn't some passing thought. The source material is really clear that from a very young age, these ideas were just part of who he was. He had this constant burning feeling that he had to act. It was like this fire inside him, pushing him to create a unified Italy, an Italy that wasn't chopped up and ruled by kings. And crucially, Mazzini wasn't the kind of guy to just sit around and daydream. He moved from having a vision to taking action. But, ideas don't get you very far without some kind of organization. So he took the next big step. He joined the Carbonari. This was a huge network of secret revolutionary societies. This is where his personal beliefs started to become part of a much larger movement. And this brings us to the moment where everything changes. With his ideas locked in and his new allies beside him, Mazzini was ready. This was it. His first big, and as it turns out, fateful shot at revolution. All right, so picture this. The year is 1831. The place is Liguria, a region in northern Italy. Mazzini, now a key player in this secret society, decides the time is now. He tries to light the spark of a full-scale revolution. This was his moment, to turn all those years of thinking into a real-world fight. And let's just pause on this number for a second. 24. At an age when most of us are just trying to figure out our careers, Mazzini was literally trying to overthrow a government. That just says so much about his conviction, his bravery, and maybe, just maybe, his youthful impatience. And there was zero confusion about his goal. The whole point of this incredibly dangerous life-or-death activity was simple: get rid of the monarchy. It was a direct, all-or-nothing attack on the way things were. So here you have it, the simple cause and effect. The attempt, a revolution. The consequence, total failure. And exile. The powers that be did not take this challenge lightly. For trying to remake his own country, Mazzini was kicked right out of it. But was that the end of the story? Not even close. In fact, this is where his real story actually begins. We tend to think of exile as a punishment, the end of the line. But for Mazzini, it was a total transformation. This failure, this punishment, it didn't silence him. If anything, it just made his voice louder and his mission clearer. Being forced out of Italy actually gave him a whole new perspective and connected him with other revolutionaries all across Europe. Exile became the very thing that forged his future. Which leaves us with this final, massive question. How does a failed revolution at age 24 become the launchpad for a movement that would one day unify an entire nation? This punishment, which was designed to crush him, instead turned him into a legend. It was just the beginning of a long, hard road that would eventually change the map of Europe forever. What do you think would have happened if he'd actually succeeded that first time?